Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of Your Way with No Way. It's a new podcast that yours truly, No Way, is starting, where I'll just be discussing with people their interests and trying to learn from them a little more and about what they do. So, for my very first episode, I'm very excited to have Armaan, Captures, and Van Fam. How are you guys doing today?
Hi,
We're
Noe. Pretty
good.
good.
Thank you for
So,
having us.
yeah, I'm so excited to have these two because they are such talented photographers. I've actually been honored to get photographed by them, so I'm actually having them on the show is actually going to be pretty fun because I have a little bit of a personal relationship with them. Um, so I guess we'll start from the beginning. Like, how do you guys remember when was that moment when you guys like wanted to get into photography or like made you decide that you wanted to get into photography? Like, do you remember? Or, like, you? That's probably a while back, right?
Yeah, I guess I can go first, Armand. Uh, so I've always liked creative things, and then photography was one aspect of that, right? So, but it was never like a continuous thing. But then I think I started getting seriously as like a ongoing hobby, like
Hmm.
3 years ago, about in 2017.
Yeah.
So that's when it started. It's basically started off after I started moving for new jobs. Um, but yeah, so it's been a while now, and I'm still working on it. So still doing photography for fun, improving it too. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Armand.
Yeah, so for me, I think it was when I was actually in high school and I took a photography class and I really enjoyed it and I knew I wanted to go back into this. So then I think when I started traveling, I think maybe in 2016, 2017, I made a separate Instagram and that kind of had like a little spark in me and I was like, like this is pretty fun. And then that was kind of the moment where I started getting a camera and getting more serious into it.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people actually own a camera or like have like a semi decent camera. It's become popular among people our age to get like a really nice camera. But I guess
Yeah.
when was the point where you guys were like, okay, I need to invest a little more? And what was that thing that you were like, okay, I need to be a little more serious about this?
Well, so my first like full salary, like my first paycheck, I spent it on the camera. So and it's expensive, right? So
Mhm,
it's like, okay, if I'm gonna invest in this camera, like I need to use it. And
mhm.
that's when I was like, okay, I have to really start doing photography if I really want to, like buy like $2,000 worth of camera and lens like right off the bat.
Jesus.
So that's when I started. Like right after I purchased my camera, I just started to like go out. And then another thing too is that at the time, right, there was a lot of meetup going on. So when you meet with other photographers, and then there's models there, and you just kind of open to like this new world of just of like photography focus, and it sparks your interest, right? Because when you're like near or among like your peers, you're getting more interest, you're more likely to wanting to work harder on your photography, like improving,
Mhm.
just taking pictures, going out and meeting with other people. So that was like the really fun part of it, and that's what basically kept me going and to take it more seriously.
About when was the time where you decided, okay, I'm spending like $2,000 on a camera?
um, so I think it was when I was graduating. It was like part of one of my graduation gifts for my family. I was like, like now that I'm graduating, I want to start traveling and getting more serious about it. So that's when I decided to buy my camera. And I actually went to Van about advice on like what camera should I get, and we were both like, okay, let's get a Sony. And then yeah, it was around that time.
It was funny because I think we helped each other out because I remember I purchased my camera first, right? But then
Mhm.
Armaan was the one that sent me this like a photography website, and then he was like, "Hey, you should check this out."
Oh.
Remember,
Oh, I
like
forgot about
Hub?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
like a new, it was like a new website.
Oh, I
So
forgot about that.
he was like, "Hey, like go check this out, apply, maybe you get accepted or something like that." So I applied and I got into like this hub of just photographers and models, like
Uh-huh.
other creatives. And then out of a sudden they have like this meetup going on. And that's when I was like, all right, I don't know anybody. I don't even know this area, but I'm gonna go. And that's when it all started basically. And then after that,
Yeah.
Armaan like started to get his camera and then attend meetups and stuff too.
Okay, how
Mhm.
how does that work? Because you guys told me about like this hub, this like exclusive club for like photographer models. Apparently, like how does it work? Like Armand, when you applied, how did that go? Or
So it's basically an app called Hub, and you apply if you're a creator. So when you're a creator, it's either you're a photographer, a model, a makeup artist, like any of those. And when you're in this hub, you get to put in like your location of where you're at, what you want to do, the types of creatives you want to meet up with, whether it's other models or photographers.
Mhm.
So I remember I actually never used that. Like we got into it and we downloaded it, and then like we never actually met someone through it, but then I started going through meetups just through like local stuff happening around me in Dallas or San Antonio.
So I use it actually, but for the very first time and the only one time, that's when I use it because I
Mm,
applied and then so my situation was that I moved from Texas to Connecticut, and so then like I
yeah.
didn't really have friends or know anybody to use as model to take photography for type of
Mhm.
things. So with this website, just I think just the right timing that they happen to like somebody happened to post it like a meetup. And
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like I'm here by myself. I need to do something. So I went to this meetup at like Yale University. So that's where we had it. And at first I was like, okay, maybe when like 5 people is gonna show up, and then we're
Yeah.
probably just gonna take some landscape photos. But it came to my surprise that there were like 50 or over 50
Holy crap!
photographers and models were there. And I was very shocked, I guess, because I've never seen this scene before. And that's when I start networking. And once I network, I branch out to like Instagram. And then these photographers, now that I made friends with them, they would just DM me
Mhm.
and they'd be like, hey, like you should come out to this meetup. And then from there I stopped using the hub, which sounds stupid, but I stopped using it a little bit, and then it just kind of strayed back to all Instagram because that's where everybody, talk amongst one another, see each other
Hmm.
works, and then from there you see like story posted of like the future meetups or future
Yeah.
works that you can be involved in, and so that's how it
Yeah.
started.
That's really cool. So, also, well, you guys, with that, I noticed that you guys started making the separate Instagrams. Like, how do you break into, I guess, is that like your live portfolio kind of to like network, right? Like,
Yeah. So for me, I think I wanted to create a separate Instagram just to like have all like my pictures and portfolio on there because I don't have a website or anything else. I just have like my Instagram. If like someone wants to do like a collaboration with me or someone wants to take senior pictures with me or something, then I would be like, oh, okay, this is my work on my Instagram. Go check it out.
Yeah.
then you have,
I actually don't have a separate Instagram for photography. I have it for my art ones, because that's where my
oh,
focus are. But photography, it was more like a personal of my like
mhm,
pictures and stuff. But I do at one point use it as like just photography Instagram. So I didn't really post picture of me. I post picture of models or like other works, photography related. But then again, it's like only a hobby, so I didn't really create a separate one. But it would be very beneficial to do that if you want to stray towards more like career focus.
okay. The thing with the models though, like, is this so you have a meetup? and there's model. Is this like a kind of like a speed dating kind of like, hey, like, can I take a picture? Like approaching someone and
I
telling like,
mean,
hey, can
kind
I take a picture of you?
of.
Literally, I mean, is that I guess.
Yeah. It's like you see like a photographer and a model in the corner and you're like, oh, maybe this fits my theme. So you just like go up to the photographer and you're like, oh, can I like join in on this? Can I take photos here too? And they're like, yeah, sure. So yeah.
It's kind of weird if you don't know what's going on.
It was really weird at first. Like I remember I went to my first one just like standing around, like how Van had said. Like you're just looking around like, who do I talk to? What do I do? I don't know any of these people. But then once you get into that vibe, it's just like pretty natural.
But then I think also the communities is very welcoming. So it's even if you go by yourself, like for us, we didn't really know anybody, but legit people would just come up to us and saying, "Hey, how's it going?" You know, they start making conversation, and then also with model as well because they want pictures, of course. So
Yeah.
they all. So it's like if you ask, right? Of course they're gonna be like, "Oh yes." I mean, that's what they're here for. The
Hmm.
so I think it's like once you get that shyness out, it's just very normal for
Hmm.
meetup to happen that way.
I guess a lot of people would be wondering, do like, is there any type of dues or like when you kind of give money to the models or something like that when it comes to these meetups? Or
Not
it's
from
Meetup,
just
what I see.
for the love of the art. That's what everybody does it.
yeah, I would say for meetup, no. For if you want like a personal project, it depends on the model. So if it's like an experienced models, they probably want to offer you like their rates, right? So that way you guys would
Hmm.
work in that sense. But during meetup, usually it's not that case. It's like it's kind of like common sense, I guess. Common not acknowledge that you're here with a benefit of either or, right? So photographer get
Yeah.
their picture in, you get your pictures. So it's like a trade, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
like a mutual understanding.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. But does that mutual understanding like translate also with like friends when, okay, I'll put this out there. How annoying or how not annoying is it when like friends are like, hey, can you take some pictures for me? Like I want to flex on my Instagram. And you guys are like,
You want to answer
Um,
that?
I mean, for me, it's normally, I mean, if it's like a close friend or like someone I know like pretty well and like I was like friends with them at one point, I'll be like, yeah, like for sure. And like for me, like I just want to get as much experience and practice as I can. So I guess like depending like on the person and like the situation and like if I'm free, then like all four, like it'll be a lot of fun. So I've never really had, I guess, like that negative experience where it's like, no.
man, do you have to reject people and be like,
Yeah. So I would just say, I mean, to a certain extent, it does get annoying, right? Because people expect, more friends. Friends expect you to take picture for them, like of them for free. But
mhm,
like for us we do as hobby, so for me I
Hmm.
want to create, I want my creative freedom, so do whatever I want, certain themes. But when it comes to friends it would be like, hey, can you just take a picture of me, like headshots or quick portraits, like very typical type of photograph.
mhm. They want
uh,
they want something for their LinkedIn profile.
yeah,
I've
exactly,
done
like
those.
kind of down the road that way. And then
Hmm.
if I have time, right, then I would
Mhm.
offer yes. But most of the time, we both work. Armaan and I, we work. We don't really have a lot of time. So photography is just kind of like a gateway for us to kind of have
Escape.
fun. Yeah, like escape, have fun. So we want to do what we like. So usually,
Hmm.
in that sense, I would just have to politely reject them and saying that
Yeah.
no, it's not up my alley. But
Yeah.
I can like show you other photographers that you might be interested in, to like hit them up, or like or pay them
Or
to
it's
take your
like,
picture.
uh-huh. I feel like it's like more awkward though when it's like a random stranger hitting you up on Instagram and you're just like, I have no idea who you are, how I've ever talked to you or met you, and then you have to like lightly reject them.
Is that common? Like for someone to just like DM you on Instagram and be like, "Hey,"
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
really?
I mean,
Mhm.
Like,
I would offer them my rate, and and
That's true. I
usually
mean,
it stops the conversation there. So
yeah, because they think, oh, let me. They'll like put it in a word and be like, "Can we collab?" And I'm like, "Who are you?"
I
That's what we
I
say.
I have a couple of like people that I follow on Instagram that are models, and that's like such a word they love throwing around. Like, let's collaborate. I want to
Collab. It's
collab.
like
Collab.
free, but collab.
So when it comes to photography, collab is equals free. Like I want to work for free or want to get
yeah.
benefits for free.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, I do that to models too, though, because let's say if
Hmm.
I see a model I really want to work with, right? I would DM them
Yeah,
too. I would say, hey, I'm working on
advanced
my.
learning to DMs.
I'm very straightforward, so I would just be like, hey, I want to work with you, but I'm working on my portfolio. So if you're open to collab, but if you have like a certain rate, I don't have that budget right now. So I just want to hear their response. So that like if they want to charge me, then I'll be like, okay, I'll find somebody else. But if they're like agree to collabs, then I would do that. So it's like it doesn't hurt, to like slide to their DM and see where the conversation is going. Like
Yeah.
it's for photography purposes, so I didn't feel awkward, I would say.
Yeah.
Is there like okay, let's spill some tea. Is there like someone you've worked with and you're like never again, but or you guys been lucky to like pretty much work fine, but there's someone out there you were like, you don't have to mention names, of course, but like there was like one guy, one girl that was just horrible working with, very difficult.
I think it's not like a particular person. I guess it's like certain pet peeves when it comes to like working with people, I guess. And it's
Uh,
like every time you like take a picture, they're like, "Oh, can I see it?" And I'm like,
oh.
"Wait, I'm not done."
Yeah, because a lot of time we edit them too, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like because they'll be like, oh, can you check this again? And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's
like, wait, I don't like how
unedited.
I look. It's like, can you
Okay.
like take this out? I don't like how I look here. Like, can you fix this? It's like a lot of requests, like in the middle
Mhm.
of the shoot. So it's like I've had that when working with like a couple people.
So, like, at some point, did they start taking command? They're like, "Can you take it again?" Or can like they just take that control
Or
from
I would
you?
just like slide away the conversation and be like, oh, I'll actually just show you everything at the end. And then by the time the end comes, they'll forget. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll send you everything.
I guess like also do like people maybe like rush you when it comes to the editing? I know like you probably like taking your time, and
Mhm.
since I've gotten pictures from you, I know it takes a while for you guys like to make it to where it satisfy you. But has someone ever like been like, "Hey, where are my photos at?" You're like, "Dude,
So
I'm working."
not me personally, but my friends who are also photographers, they
Hmm.
had that happen to them, and they get really frustrated because um well, first of all, it was a collab, right? And it was not
Yeah.
paid. So there isn't like a deadline, so this is like
Hmm.
this project should come after whatever is more prioritized, like paid works. But my
Yeah.
friend, he took these photos for like one person, and then this person was just like constantly every day, hey, can you send me this picture? Can you send me this picture? And my friends, I think he get really frustrated because he said, okay, I have other work to do and I have other paid photography works I need to finish. So your comes
Yeah.
last because it's just a collab, it's a free trade, right? But
Hmm.
the guy was constantly um, DMing him or messaging him for like the photos. So
Yikes.
it's bad, but to one point, I think my friend got really frustrated that he just kind of auto edit everything, and
Oh yeah.
Just press the auto button on Lightroom, and here you go.
Yeah, and
Or just like the copy paste.
yeah, and he sent it over because he said if you want quality work, like, you have to be patient and wait.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
the guy wasn't that at all. So I mean, my friend just did that like an auto filter. I mean, like his filter, but he just copy and pasted,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, the guy was fine with it, but he was just like, oh, I'll never work with this person again. Like,
What
Sounds like a bad experience.
yeah.
would I guess, is there like, I get with all these collabs and stuff, is there someone that you guys would love to collab that out there that you're like, oh my god, like I would love to work with that model? That maybe, obviously there's like professional models, but like in the scene, I guess would be called.
Yes, yes. There's definitely are models that you definitely want to work with. I think based off like the
Mhm,
meetups you go to. So, for
Hmm.
example, when I was in the Connecticut and New York area, I made friends with models who are, um, I guess they're pretty well known in that community up
mhm,
there. So even if I don't know them, I would just again DMing them and ask if they want to work with me, right? And fortunately for me, they was like, yes, I would love to work with you. And these models, I mean, I don't want to put like number into like one of the things to consider, but they do have
mhm.
a good amount of followers too on Instagram.
Yeah.
And their portfolio itself, like their models, they very comfortable, like their poses, they're very confident.
Mhm,
So these are the models you definitely want to work with because you don't have to tell them what to do. They know what
Hmm.
mhm.
angles are best at for them. They will know what pose. They know how to look at the camera, like their expressions. Everything is just super comfortable. So all you gotta do really is finding your own angle and take pictures. So
That's really
the
cool.
even though they're aspiring models, but I did work with models who are signed to agency. So
Yeah.
and for them, they're very comfortable as well.
Yeah.
So
I
to
feel
work with
like
them is
the
really
best
nice.
part about these like photography meetups, like I went to one in San Antonio, and then when I've been in Dallas, I went to at least like 3 or 4 of these meetups, and almost a lot of these models know exactly what they're doing. So it's like you don't have to tell them like what to do, where to pose. It's like they know exactly what to do and how to do it. And like
Those are
from
the
those,
best.
yeah, because it's like usually when you like collab with like people that you know, it's like you kind of have to tell them like what to do or like how to do it, but then these people like know exactly what to do.
Damn, that's crazy. So, okay, and so these models have these huge Instagram accounts, and so your work pops off. Have you guys seen your work at like a different account, or like, or do you guys feel proud, or do you guys feel like a little stolen? Some people might not be cool with that, but let's say one of your photos just pops off, and it just, I guess found in like a communal, like where they highlight photos. I guess, is that a thing? And your photo is featured on there or
Oh,
posted on
like
that
feature
Instagram.
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you guys
Um, I think so. I had
have
like
that
some like
happen?
travel pictures, and like they went on like I went to Dubai and I took a picture there. And like I posted on my Instagram, but then like a local area in Dubai posted that same picture, but they gave me credit. So I feel
Oh,
like as
okay.
long as like they give me credit, then I don't really care. Like you can post it like more, I guess, public for me. So
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't really care either, but I have this funny story that I wanted to share. So I when I first started out, right, I took this picture at the Washington Monument in Washington D.C. So
Hmm.
I posted that, and this feature page on Instagram, they found my picture, so they reposted, and they of course they tagged me, credit me, and everything. So my original
Yeah.
photo probably got like 50 likes, and then I go to the feature page, right? It was like 3,000 likes, and then I would just take all my photos because they don't care for me. But
That's crazy.
yeah, but it's I feel like in a sense it's a good way to put your work out there too because they credit you, and then eventually for the like model scenes and photography scene, that's where that's how they find you, and they would then message you to work into
Hmm.
collabs. So that is a very good way to put your work out there and to get kind of known. I think with just the creators, so like photography, arts, in general. So
That
that
whole
helps too.
network.
Yeah, it really helps.
So obviously, as people listening noticed, you guys travel for your shoots and stuff. So what are like your favorite spots that you've been to that you were like, oh, this place was amazing? And I know you guys have traveled like far and wide, so I'm excited to hear what's the spot to go to.
There's a
Uh,
lot.
I know.
But just
Do you
mention
mean
it. I'm
like
pretty sure people are gonna
do you mean
want
like
to know.
travel like for portraits or like travel photography like
I
or
guess
just in
like
general?
where you felt that everything was so aesthetic that you could just work with the whole like city or country that you were like, oh, this place, I just had so much fun taking photos here.
Um,
Mhm.
I would say for me, it would be New York.
New York.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, I love when I was in Seoul, Korea. That was awesome as well. But given that I'm not going to travel there often, but New
Hmm.
York was definitely a place of all the art scenes are constantly changing. So every week
Hmm.
you can find something new. So yeah, basically I was in New York every weekend, and that's just what I
Yeah.
did. Just what I did. I strolled by myself, like on the street. I found something new. Like the landscape is one thing, and also the model and the art scene there. So it's just
Hmm.
really big. So
I
you
bet
can
there's a bunch of models in New York.
yeah, so you can always find a model to work with, and or you can just find little art things that you can take picture of. So I feel like New York would probably be one of my favorite um city to
Yeah.
for photography.
Armaan.
Yeah, I completely agree on New York. That was definitely like one of the ones like when we went we like there's so many like areas to take pictures and it'll never get boring. But I would also say probably like any city in Europe, honestly, just because there's like so many like beautiful sightings and like I like for me like I really like portrait photography, but I also like travel photography a lot. And
Hmm.
like I feel like every time I was in Europe, any city, you would always just get like the best photos, whether it was like a different museum or like a famous landmark. It was just all look really nice and like you could really like play around with the picture. So I really liked any city there.
Yeah,
I was crazy. I
I mean, like,
remember. Go
oh, go
ahead,
ahead.
man.
Oh,
I remember when I went to Europe when I was in college. I took a trip, and I have a small like low scale DSLR, and I took it just to take nice photos. And I remember it's a quick. In Paris, I was at a restaurant and I was eating, and it was like a family-owned restaurant, and the family was out there eating, and I just quickly used the restroom. I left my bag there, and I come back, and the lady comes up to me, and she is like, no, 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 no. She's like getting after me. She's like, don't leave your camera just out here.
oh,
And but I had like tucked it away, kind of like where people. I was not gonna carry all my bag into the restroom because it's
yeah.
Europe. It's tiny
But she
restroom.
saw it.
But she saw it and she took care of it. Obviously, she was like keeping an
Oh,
eye
that's
on
so
it.
sweet
But
Oh my
she
though.
was
god.
like, this old French lady was like, no, 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 no. She was like, pointing, don't leave that out here. And she got like, I guess like her daughter, her granddaughter, tell, and she was like, oh, don't leave your bag just here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I won't. But it was just one of those. But and I think about it, I was like, man, I had so many pictures there, it could have easily been gone. And I treasure those. A lot of those photos I haven't even posted ever. I just have them because I
That's the
like
thing. You like take so many photos, and then half the time they just kind of sit there, and you just forget to edit them, and you're like, I don't even
really.
remember this. Yeah,
Yeah, well, like I'll circle back to it when I have time. You know.
yeah.
I guess like obviously right now it's a very different time from usual, but how much time do you guys like dedicate to your photography, you say?
Now
Mm,
now it's slowed down.
yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I bet. I
Yeah.
bet.
I would say tremendously. It has been slowing down, and also just other aspect in lives is kind of take a toll on me right now with school and stuff. So now I just photograph my own art. So that's
Mhm.
what I'm doing right now. But before I would say before COVID, it, I was always out every weekend. Every weekend I trying to go somewhere, like find some new places and just start taking photos, or like just asking my friends or like, say, hey, let's go out, go explore, so that way I could
Mhm.
get something for my photography. So it was always like I wanted to continue with photography and everything, but
Yeah.
now it's kind of slowing down unless you do like self portrait at home.
Yeah. I feel
Mhm.
like now what I actually started doing was going back through my old photos, like on my older
Oh yeah.
trips, and I started re-editing those. So I did that for like a little bit, but I haven't gotten back into it. But definitely before COVID, I would try and travel and like go to like different places with like family or friends and like always take my camera. So that I think it was pretty often, like last
Yeah.
year, a lot. Like even like me and Van, like we would go like with our friends to like pop-up museums and like go to all those like Instagram aesthetic places with our cameras.
We did. We did. Like, I mean, we even travel like out of like the city together, right? Like, we would go to New
Yeah.
York, and then we just find all these artsy scenes,
Hmm.
and then use one another as models to have
That's
as a
yeah.
subject focus for our photos. And it was constantly like we're constantly going, or like we would plan for the next, like next photos projects or things like that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
The good old
It,
times.
it,
I know.
those were the good times. I guess when it comes to those like pop up like museums that are literally meant for this type of scene, I guess, for like people who want to take photographs, do you guys prefer that, or do you guys prefer like, a raw like scene that you find out there?
I think I like both. I feel
Mhm.
like the pop-up ones brings you like a whole new environment or like whatever the aesthetic is. Like for the one that we went to in New York, it was just black and white. So I told Van, I'm like, all right, let's dress up in black and white and like take pictures of ourselves and this and like then we still got like the raw aspect of like going out in New York and like taking pictures there. So it's like they're both really good, I guess, like in their own way.
Yeah, I think it two different type of style. So when I go
Mhm.
to like when I travel, it's usually my own personal photos. So these are like memories for me to keep. So I really like that side of photography. And then on the pop
Mhm.
up, usually I like to have a models. So that way, they can shine, like the model can shine with their portraits or their poses, and then they have a really cool background, to support the photo as well. So that would be more on like the commercial side, if you call it that way.
Mhm.
um so that would really help for like the models or like people who are in the photos. But for travel, it's definitely more for myself.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
for sure.
What would you guys like when it comes to these styles? I guess what would you can you guys put into words your editing style, or even if it's not just a full like description, but like words that you associate with your editing style? Because I know you both have very unique, very different, I'd say, from each other looking at your work.
Mm.
mine changes. I don't know how to explain it because I think
Change is your word.
yeah. So my style before, I think the editing style before, it was a little bit more vibrant, more. Uh, I think I was on like a trend with that point, like with like the neons and colorful. Now it's a little bit more like desaturated. Um,
Mm,
so like more toned down type of photos. For now on my
you got
Instagram.
depressed.
Yeah, so I did probably. So it just shift a little bit, but usually I like to stick to one style for like a certain period of time, and then
Mm.
I'll change it, and then I'll swap it because I usually I don't stay on one permanent style, but I switch it. But within like few months, I would switch it.
I
Armaan.
feel like for me, I really like when it comes to like travel photography, I really like bright lights and like kind of like that neon aspect. So I'll try and get like a lot of like bright colors and like a lot of my photos. And even in like some of my portrait photography, I'll get like random sources of light and like add them in to like kind of make like the subject or like the person pop a lot. So I really like kind of grabbing people's attention with like colors and lights
Oh,
and
I know
like
the term. I
what is
think our
that?
style is urban.
Urban style.
Urban style.
Like
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Because a lot of my friends, for example, they do film, so they do film
Mhm.
photography. So it's very like vintage, very retro. You know, it give it
Hmm.
Oh.
like grungy look. But for me, I
Mhm.
usually like it more like futuristic look or just
Yeah.
modern. And so I think that's the term urban.
Yeah, like urban. And like I feel like when we both like started photography, our styles were so different compared to where we are right now. Like my first couple of pictures are all like very differently edited compared to what I
Oh
have
my
now.
god, mine was so bad.
I don't even like looking at them anymore.
Same, mine
In the
was so bad.
archive.
I guess like going from that to you guys have this pride in your work and stuff, and obviously the biggest platform for you guys I would assume is Instagram. um I don't know how it works when it comes to like, I guess the, well, you know what comes with social media, that like, is there any awkward moments that you have when it comes to like people just not liking your photos or comments like that? I hope you guys haven't run into many of those, but I don't know, I wanted to touch that point if maybe that's something that you guys have run into.
Yeah, I had run into it actually. So one of my photos or got features right on these feature Instagram, and then
Mhm.
I mean I gotta admit like my work was rusty on the Photoshop side because I was doing like I don't know what's the what is it called, but it's like manipulation, like photo manipulation for Photoshop. So it was a little bit rusty, but I got features somehow, and then it blown up, and then it got featured like to a lot of feature pages on Instagram. But then of course
Mhm.
there are comments where criticizing, like oh
Yeah.
it's not blending well or something like that, or it doesn't look real. Um, but usually I don't get hurt by those comments because it is kind of like a learning lesson for me that like oh this is what people see that I didn't see, so it's for the next photo like what I need to be detail oriented on, like what I need to focus on, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like a bad comment. I think it's just critiques for you to take in, but
Right on.
personal bad comments I haven't come across that.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't think I've ever come across like anyone negatively saying anything about my photos. And like usually right like my Instagram profile is mostly like friends and like people that I've met through photography. So it's not really that random.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had that happen.
How that happened.
But I actually appreciate those comments though, because then I found out those they're not bots. Because you know Instagram have like
Oh yeah.
bots, yeah, like bots comments where like, oh my god, I love this, I love that, but it's not actual people viewing your photos. It's just a
Yeah.
bunch of spams. So when I actually see a comment that actually critiques my work, I'm like, oh, it's a real person.
It's actually going somewhere.
Would you say it's I guess how there's people that take it very seriously, and you guys take it seriously, and there's people out there that take it super seriously. Would you say that the threshold is very high for someone to get into photography, or like pretty much it doesn't take much? I mean, you obviously have to put an effort forward, but how much of an effort, I guess, to be, part of the scene, be part of the cool kids?
I don't think that the threshold is high. I think it's just like the consistency of doing photography, because like you see a lot of people like kind of like, oh, I'm a photographer, like I'll do this, and like they talk a lot, but like you don't really see them actually like posting and like being consistent with it. So I feel like one thing that really helped me is just like having like Van and like our other like photographer friends, like keeping each other motivated and going and like consistent. And like I feel like it just really comes to like what can you show, and like that'll really like show like um how like not like what was the word you used, the
Like
like the
it's
threshold, yeah, the
yeah.
threshold.
So the bar is not set too high.
Yeah, so the bar is not set too high. It's just like you just have to really be consistent and like show your work.
Yeah, I would say anybody can get into photography, but it just the matter of fact how seriously are you taking it too. But then again, like how creative are you with photography? Like when you're taking portrait photos, how creative of you with the themes, the style you're choosing, what are the story you're telling through your photos, you know? And then I
Mm-hmm.
think that would set if you're in like into the scene, all the photographers have high expectation of what they would give like respect to you. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, um, but if I have a legit like portfolio and showcase my work, then they'll be like, ah, okay, like she has potential. So, I mean, anybody can do it, but it's just matter of fact, are you really trying or are you really putting in your work? Like, stay
Yeah.
consistent.
I guess what is then after that, what is the jump for from where you guys are, where you're consistent and you're working, you have projects and that you're working on, to that other part? Essentially, where you get paid. How do you make it to that point where like you can be like, I'm just gonna dedicate myself to photography? Or is that even possible? I don't even know.
It's possible. It just I think for us, like for Armaan and I, we don't take it to that extent of seriousness. Um, and to speak for myself is that I enjoy a lot more of the collaborative works for photography rather than the paid one. So I did paid works before, but then to find out that I wasn't really enjoying it because it restricting my creative freedoms, right? And that's all I started photography for, was like a gateway for me to escape. But then once I just start doing paid work, now I'm having to meet the client expectations, what
Mm,
they want exactly. So it's definitely possible that you can turn it into a career. Um, and
yeah.
I've seen so many of my photographer friends that now they are like real deal, just full time
Yeah.
photographers, and they make money out of that too. But it's a lot of hard work.
I feel like for people that want to go professionally, like if they're at our level, for example, like you've been working with friends, gone to a couple of collaboration events, like the next step is to kind of find your niche. Like, are you going to do wedding photography? Are you going to do couple photography, portrait photography, travel photography? Like there's all different types.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've seen people on my Instagram that like one guy I follow, like he only does couple photography and it's just full time job. He has kids, but like he's still getting paid and he's super successful. So it all depends on like how much effort you're going to put into, and then that will really help jumpstart your next step into that professional field. But jumping off of what Van had said, like personally for me, like I like keeping photography as a creative aspect, and like I've done like paid work as well, but I've also had a lot more fun in like the free work where like I could do whatever I want, work with whoever I want.
It's like when your when your hobby becomes your job, it's like it's not a hobby anymore. Pretty much, like it takes.
It's true for some aspect, yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder how
very
it goes.
different.
I wonder how it goes where you're going from like taking these urban pictures and the neon lights to like wedding photos, and it's all
Right? Like,
that transition in the Instagram, like
yeah.
oh, they
Yeah,
did this.
like I had people that email me to like set up a time to for like taking photos of babies, like the baby photos, and and
We're gonna put your
and
baby in the middle of New York.
yeah, they told me that like, oh, I saw your photos on Instagram, I really like your work, like would you be open to, like take photos of my babies? Like what's your race? Like they were willing to pay me. But then I had to be very upfront with them that I'm saying that, to be honest, I am not a professional in taking like family portraits, photos.
Mhm,
So I don't want to deceive them because what they
mhm.
expected might be very different. Because I don't want the baby to look out for neon lights and all that stuff. So, so I just had to be really straightforward with them and be transparent as well. But then at the same time, I could recommend them to photographers that I know who focus on family portraits. So it would be more towards their style, you know. So that's how it would work.
Mm. What is like the craziest thing you guys done for a photo? Because I see these videos, and well, I'll put it this way: I've seen these videos on social media where, and it's usually from like Southeast Asian countries or like rural areas in Asia, where they do these very creative photos, and the edit like they make like a pond, like it's a puddle, and they make it look like a lake and
Oh, I've seen
stuff
that.
like that, or like they have an assistant and the assistant like basically gets wet, but he throws like a bucket up and he gets all drenched, but they capture the photo in the perfect time. Like, I guess, like, have you guys done anything crazy where like I need to get that photo, or like that looks cool if I do this?
Yes, I would say. Um, I would say multiple times. I mean, like one common thing is just like us laying flat down on the ground, like trying to get that ant view look of the models,
Mhm.
right? So I remember I would just lay down in the middle of the street in New York, and then, but then I think I was so determined to get this photo that I forgot
Mhm.
I was in the middle of the street. So all of the shame just went out of my
Just
head.
honking.
Yeah, so I was just like legit taking, but what's funny was that it was in New York, right? So all the tourists, they thought my friends were
Yeah.
like real deal famous models, so they started filming him too because they thought I was like doing a photo shoot for a famous model or something. So they start filming
Mhm.
him, and they're like, "Oh, look at this guy!" And of course, he's signed with an agency, so he's a model, but he's not like a well-known, like famous. And then, but he has that look, so he was just like, "Oh my god, he's famous!" So they start taking photos of him, and I'm just like, "Okay, I'm still on the floor, still taking the picture." Or like another incident that we would go to, like what like abandoned places. Um,
Yeah, those are
yeah,
creepy. Some of those abandoned places.
Oh
now
my
that
god.
I'm looking back, I could never do it anymore.
Yeah, but
But
like,
I
yeah,
went
like
to
one
one.
thing they would do. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna finish. Like I went to one in San Antonio, and I went with two of my male photographer friends, and we found like a little tunnel, and it was pitch black, like black dark down there. And then they say, "Van, go down," and I said, "What about you guys?" So I was the first person to go down the tunnel, and it was so dark I couldn't see anything. And then I say, "Nope, I'm out. Peace." So
For
I mean, I
those
did. I did
who
find. I did took photos of them though. Like, but after that, I was like, never again.
for those listening, Van, how tall are you?
I'm like 4'11", so
Oh
And
my
they
gosh,
sent her first into the.
in
She's
that
4'11".
tunnel.
They sent her first into the tunnel.
I know. And they
Those are
said
great
me first, so I was just like, wow. And they're like,
Yeah.
like they're fit guys and everything, and they sent me first, and I was like, what a friends.
Armaan, have you done something crazy?
I mean, so speaking of like those abandoned places, like one thing photographers will do is like to get like the best photo ever, it's like a thing to go into like abandoned garages or like abandoned like areas. Apparently that's like a thing. So like everyone would go and take like their models and their lights and everything. And like I remember I one time
Wow.
went to like this like area with like these people I just met at a meetup and I was all alone and I was like, all right, so I guess this is the thing. And like you just like see everyone whipping out their cameras and like the models there with like different like changing colored lights. And I mean, those are really, the photos turned out really good. So I could see why they want to do it, but it was definitely a interesting time.
Yeah, I definitely
Have,
wouldn't
have you?
recommend it for girls either to go. I mean, alone. But if you're with
Yeah.
friends, it's fine. But
Yeah.
Especially in Texas, like people are very gun ho about their property. Like imagine going to someone's farm or something, like
yeah, so I
you're
would
running
say
away.
Texas is a lot more restricted. So I don't go to like abandoned places here, or I don't go anymore in general. But when I was in the Northeast, it's very common. They have a lot of abandoned places that like people can just go in because sometimes they kind of made it into like a park even where people would
Oh,
just
okay.
go in. People do for like graffitis there, so it's like a free range. So it's not like illegal to like access or anything like that. But it's just that you go at your own risk, I guess,
Hmm.
because there are suspicious people, sketchy people there as well. So that's why I wouldn't recommend girls to go alone. But if you're with friends or guy friends, it feel a little bit more comfortable, more safe.
Let's leave the scary part a little bit and have some fun. Okay, you have unlimited budget. This is gonna be very nerdy photographer talk from here forward, I guess. But what is like your dream setup or like your dream like equipment? You say like, oh, I would love to have this. I would love to have that. Like
Oh,
unlimited budget.
well, the first thing for me is this lens that I really want. I think it's like $2,000 or $3,000
Oh
for a
my
Sony.
god.
Yeah, but it's
Just for the
so
lens.
nice. Yeah, it's so nice. My friends had it, and then they shoot like portraits with it, or like travel ones, and
Mhm.
it just looked amazing. The quality is amazing, and then when they edit them, it's even better. So that would be like the first thing that I want, and then of course like your studio eventually.
That's cool. Armaan, what would be the first thing you would buy, I guess? Like unlimited budget.
Definitely, like she said, like a lens. Like I think my lenses would be maybe like $500-$600. So like I
Oh,
mean it's not $2,000-$3,000,
That's just bougie
but
like that.
I would just like grab that and then like definitely have like a studio with like different like I guess like neon lights with like all different types of like themes and like just having like unlimited access to like taking
like your
pictures
own pop
there.
up kind of.
Yeah, like going like in a pop-up, but like you decide the theme and like what you want it to be look like so you can like see your vision come true like in the pop-up. And then definitely like if it's unlimited budget, like travel as many places as I could.
Okay, where
Just
would you
hop on the
like to
plane.
go? Like, I know you guys probably want to go back to New York, but any another place that you haven't been to that you were like, oh,
Singapore.
Banff.
Singapore, and where was yours?
I said Banff in Canada.
Banff. Or I've never heard of that. Sorry.
It's like a
A
blue. It's like
mountainside.
yeah, it's like more mountain scenery side with like blue lakes and like if you see like a picture, you'll be like, oh, I've totally seen this place.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
like where I want to go next. But like
Van
Yeah.
Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore is, I mean, very urban. Very
Yeah.
urban, a lot of skyscraper, totally my style of photography. And then it just also there's a lot of like art exhibits or even like
Oh,
the
really?
next like Tokyo too, like in
yeah,
Japan.
Tokyo would be nice.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
bunch of bright lights and everything over there.
Neons.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading one time about how Hong Kong is a country that neon was really popular, but then like unfortunately, like recently, neon is kind of dying, and because they're switching more to LED lights. Um, so
I
I
mean
don't know,
neon
like you guys touch
LED,
on that.
right?
Oh, okay. Uh, I guess when you travel, is there like a lot of so here people are still not used to it. In I guess in other countries, are they more used to it? To like you just popping in and taking a picture like in the middle of the street like you did in New York or something?
Um, I
I feel
think
like if it's like,
usually,
oh, go ahead.
uh, oh, I was gonna say usually when I travel a lot to more of like the touristy
Mm-hmm.
area.
Mm.
So when I travel to the touristy areas, I just like, of course, whipped out my camera just fine.
Yeah.
Um, but when I'm in the local area, I don't really take as much photos on my camera. I usually take it on my phone. Um,
Mhm.
it's like some memories for me to keep. But with the more touristy area, it's more open for like you staying there for an hour taking photos or something, right? But with local, I want it to be respect of the locals, people's space as
Mhm.
well. So I just do like a quick
Yeah.
snap and then get on with my life type of things.
Armand, what
Yeah.
has been your experience?
No, definitely the same thing. Like everywhere, like a lot of places that I've been, it's like already kind of touristy. So it's like most people already have their cameras out and all around the area. So it's like nothing really different.
Have you guys ever gotten in trouble for taking pictures of something and they're like, someone's like, "Oh, my face is in there, please remove it," or like you were not supposed to take a picture of the certain thing?
Yes.
Oh, truly, yes.
Of course, man.
Not like not the people wise, but like when I was in New York, we would take photos at like like a tunnel, like a subway, and some
Mhm.
subway area like there's security that wouldn't want you to be there to block traffic basically. So it's
Mhm.
not about like copyrights or like people in the pictures. They just don't want you there, like wasting time. And then, but then I would just be like, oh, I'm working for my portfolio, like for school. And then, oh, but usually they're very nice about it. They're like, okay, like I'll give you like 10 more minutes, and then you would have to go because
Oh, that's so nice.
it's like getting busy and stuff. So they don't like kick you out right away, but they will kick you out eventually. And I had that like a few times.
Armand, have you ever got in trouble?
For photography, no. I usually just go in the safe areas unless like it's like that one time I went to the abandoned place. But even then, no one was around.
um, I guess this has been a great talk. I want to thank you guys for being on the show. Do you guys have any like future projects that you for sure want to do pretty soon, or that you already have planned, like as soon as all this is over, whenever it's over?
Um, I think Arman and I we have like a few pop-ups that we wanted to go. But
Mhm.
we in two different cities right now, so we're just trying to align that to see when we could meet,
Mm-hmm.
and also how safe is it to even go out at this time right now,
Yeah.
basically. So
Mhm.
that would be the
Yeah.
future, I think,
Yeah,
for us.
definitely that in the works. And like maybe like when all of this is over, like we can like start traveling and like going to like different places again. So,
Oh yeah, once it
I
is over,
did.
I'm out.
oh yeah.
I have seen some videos of people taking amazing photos because, like, everything, especially when it was a hard quarantine, like, people would sneak out and go to these places that were, like, usually
Oh yeah, and like
extremely
big
packed.
cities,
Yeah, and taking
like all empty
photos.
finally.
Yeah.
That's what I was
So,
hoping for if I was still like in the East Coast. But unfortunately, my quarantine has been kind of more in the suburban area, and there's not much here to
Same.
take photos of. So that's
well,
that.
hopefully, hopefully you guys get out there. I really like looking at you guys bless my feed, as they say, like with your photographs. And I always envy you, but in a good way of like, man, that's so cool. Like, I just think you
Thank
guys are
you.
really cool, talented people.
Thank you.
Where can people follow you, for the listeners, if they want to check out your work?
Yeah, on Instagram, for me, it would be Armaan.captures.
Van.
Uh, for me, it would be Vanny Fam. on Instagram and or vannyfam.com. I have a website as well. It doesn't get updated as much as Instagram, so I would recommend looking at Instagram. But I don't know if you're gonna put the link, right? No way.
Yeah, I'm gonna link you guys on
somewhere.
Okay, because I don't want to spell out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You guys could check out the links, especially on the YouTube video. They'll be in the description below. Well, thank you guys for being on. I want to remind everyone that this podcast is available on all your preferred streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I don't know what they renamed their brand stuff. I don't remember. You can follow me as well on Instagram and Twitter at YoSoyNoe, and as well. And I'll be live on Twitch if you want to discuss this topic and any other things that popped up on this podcast episode. Thank you very much to Armaan and Van for being in the very first guest on Your Way with Noe. This has been
Thank you
Their
for
Way.
having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. This is fun.
This has been Their Way, and this is Noe. Thank you.
Thank you.